The next topic of discussion is perception of language. Under perception of language, we will look at the speech perception. Speech perception is the process by which the sounds of language are heard, interpreted, and understood. It is through these processes, by hearing a sound and interpreting and then understanding, we form a complete meaning of the language that we are exposed to. The study of speech perception is closely linked to the field of phonology and phonetics in linguistics, because phonology and phonetics, they both deal with the sound system of a human language. Speech perception is a product of innate preparation, that is nature, and sensitivity to experience, that is nurture. Now, nature and nurture. Nature refers to the innate ability of producing a language, and nurture deals with the surrounding and how a child develops through the reinforcement and through the responses that he or she gets from the external environment, and that is how those external factors contribute in the development of a specific behavior of a child. Now, nature and nurture as demonstrated in infants' ability to perceive speech. So, the existence of the universal grammar and the social aspects affect their ability to perceive speech. Research on acoustic of speech demonstrated that there has been a lot of research that has been conducted on the acoustics of speech, and they show how certain physiologic gestures used during speech produce specific sound. And also the specific speech features are sufficient for the listener to determine the phonetic identity of these units, which are the sound units. Studies of infants from birth have shown that they respond to speech signal in a special way, suggesting a strong innate component to language. NLM. NLM is the native language magnet. Now, what we mean by native language magnet is that the speech perception grew out of the research that simply states that it explains how infants at birth can hear all of the phonetic distinctions used in the world's languages. However, during the first year of life, prior to the acquisition of word meaning and contrastive phonology, infants begin to perceive speech by forming mental representation or perceptual maps of speech they hear in their environment. Now, these representations are then stored in their brain and constitute the beginning of language-specific speech perception and serve as a blueprint which guides infants' attempt to produce speech. Then we have bottom-up and top-down processes which are also used to understand speech. Now, in the former, we receive auditory information, we convert it into a neural signal and process the phonetic features information. In the later, we use stored information about language and the world to make sense of the speech. Perception occurs when both sources of information interact to make only one alternative plausible to the listener, who then perceives a specific message. To conclude, research in speech perception seeks to understand how human listeners recognize speech sounds and use this information to understand spoken language.